All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to What's a Woolpert. This is your host, Dan Michalik, and as you can see here, it is springtime in the Midwest. It's currently storming, which also means it's conference season when it's spring. So for this episode, we want to do something a little bit different. We had Woolpert staff attend Esri's Federal Users Conference out in Washington, D.C., and also GeoWeek in Denver, Colorado. So we went ahead and caught up with various Woolpert attendees at those two events. We hope you enjoy.
So, all right, this is Matt Johnson, and where are we, Matt?
We are in Washington, D.C. Convention Center for the Esri Federal User Conference.
All right, and we just got 3 quick questions. First one is, what have you seen or heard that you think will figure prominently in the year ahead?
Ooh, that's a tough question, but I would have to say first one's probably climate risk assessments, and then maybe the second one would be cloud migrations and implementations. ArcGIS Online is expected to be approved to a FedRAMP moderate level sometime, they said, I think in Q2, which could be very beneficial for a lot of our clients.
In general, what do you like about conferences the most?
Really catching up with colleagues, coworkers, building client relationships, spending the time. Obviously, like seeing the sessions, but it's about building those relationships. It's such a great event, and I'm just amazed that they are able to put it together.
Cool.
Hey, my name is Mark Smits. I'm a geospatial program director and vice president. I didn't really understand how prominent Esri software was in the Intel community.
Okay.
And so kind of seeing that and connecting with those guys at this sort of event was a new thing for me. Because usually we're point to point, but actually being here at the conference has been pretty excellent.
Cool. And I'm guessing you've been here multiple times.
This is my second time.
Okay.
8 years ago.
Okay.
It was a quarter or a tenth of this size.
Okay. So did anything about the conference or the event overall, surprise you?
I didn't realize how many partners we had in the Esri space.
Okay.
So, we've been able to meet with DoD, a couple of Intel agencies, and a bunch of our customers and get them connected to our data. So that's been really helpful. I lived in Alexandria, right down the road, for about 6 years. And so I'm pretty excited to be back here. And I do really love just the food scene in DC. So it's being parked here and then going out and checking out what everybody's got to offer has been awesome. I think for me, coming to the conferences is one of the best ways that we connect our employees to each other as well. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here because it's been great to see everybody again.
Next up, we have Sarah. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Sarah Elmore. I work out of the Athens, Alabama office, and this is my first time at the Esri Fed Conference.
That's cool. So, being that this is your first time, what have you seen or heard that you think will figure prominently in the year ahead?
AI, I think everybody's talking about AI right now. It's pretty interesting to see the way they're querying data with AI spatially and like tabular data. So it's interesting. And then they're teaming with Microsoft, so I think we're going to see more integration with the software we're using for Microsoft. So it's pretty interesting. I know it's not as big as the one in San Diego, but there's a lot of people here. Just a lot of sessions to choose from. So. Big. A lot of decisions to make every day.
Yeah, totally. All right, and then lastly, what do you just in general like about conferences?
It's great to meet people. I've gotten to meet people from Woolpert and then also my clients with the government and other private companies that we work with. So it's just been great meeting people, putting a face. Some of these people I've talked to for years and never met in person. So
cool.
The networking's been good. DC's fine. We're going to the Smithsonian tonight, so I'm excited.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Sarah.
So we have today Alec Berger. Alec, what's your most recent title here?
My most recent title, I'm a public sector lead for the Google Cloud team on our Woolpert Digital Innovations group.
What have you seen or heard here that you think will have the biggest impact on the year ahead?
Yeah, I think that The first thing that I can say right off the top of the head is how much data has played an influence in all of these booths, all of the conversations that I've been a part of and listening to. It just seems to me like it's becoming more and more relevant to everybody in every sector and every position. It's kind of really interesting how data has changed that landscape so much over the last few years. What's most surprised me, honestly, is this is my first event for this conference. What I think is most interesting about GeoWeek is how many people here either already work with Woolpert, are sizing us up because there's some sort of competition factor there, or even more interesting, I think recently I was walking around the floor and I noticed how many products we actually employ in our organization. So, but no, really, just how many cool things that we have at our disposal to be able to use. And I find it so interesting that you can have a conversation with somebody just walking down at lunch, walking up to the booth, at their booth, or certainly at a breakout session. I just love the fact that you always find something surprising when it comes to the conversations. I don't know. I always meet interesting people and learn new things.
Market Director for Africa.
What have you seen or heard in the conference so far that you think will have the biggest impact on the year ahead?
So the conference is only on day 2, so there's still more days to come. But for me, the keynote address yesterday was very poignant on where we are moving towards, and perhaps it's because we're in Africa and we see and feel climate change, not necessarily more than here, but there is where in the US there's a lot of focus, in the US and Europe there's a lot of focus on aging infrastructure and aging buildings. For us in Africa it's all about new infrastructure, new development, but trying to do that learning from the past with the climate change and the climate resilience that goes with it, creating it right going forward.
Also, what do you like about attending conferences? What do you think is the most fruitful part of that?
Post-COVID, the one-on-one time. Actually getting to see people, getting to see our colleagues, getting to spend time social and so business meetings, one-on-one business meetings, but also interacting socially and just making those connections again. I think the remote work environment, remote offices has, although we're all very efficient with our jobs, it creates a level of detachment from each other, and conferences allow us to just reconnect, and that's awesome.
We got here Dave Neff, our Maritime Market Director. So Dave, you've been walking around today, you've been listening to presentations. What have you heard or seen that you think will be the most impactful in the year ahead?
Gosh, this conference for me is pretty eye-opening to really the whole geospatial world out there. And a lot of these, kind of general LiDAR and geospatial focused conferences, there is a bit of a maritime buzz around all of this work. And one thing that I saw today, there's a couple small UAV systems that now can do bathymetric LiDAR work. And there's a new one on the market, and there's kind of 2 of them out there now. That will tie in a lot easier to our bathymetric work that we do for ports and harbors, for smaller kind of riverine areas and stuff like that, than a fixed wing aerial system. So those are that's something interesting that we're looking at.
Wonderful.
It's really nice to see kind of all of the technologies coming together. It's not just LiDAR here, obviously, so all of the imagery and photogrammetry, and of course what I'm into, the maritime stuff, does have a presence here.
Yeah. And then in general, what do you like about attending conferences the most?
Okay, so of course it is nice to connect with the rest of the industry, the different vendors, the folks that you might talk to throughout the year but don't see in person. But one of the nicest things I've found about coming to conferences like this is networking and connecting within your own organization. especially with eTrack being a newer acquisition and needing to learn and wanting to learn all of the different folks and players and who's doing what at Woolpert and how we can cross sell our services. I think that's a big part of it for me, is just kind of getting to meet a lot of the different people within my own organization.
Murray Zimmer, I'm a geospatial CFO.
Wonderful. So, Murray, here at GeoWeek this week, you've seen and heard a number of things. What have you learned about that you think will have the biggest impact on the year ahead?
I think the biggest thing I learned about was the AI and automation, particularly of LiDAR classification, something that we need to fully engage with.
Very nice. So what has most surprised you about the conference this week?
The happy hours, they're pretty good, yeah. The booths, getting out the whiskey and Moscow mules, brilliant.
All right, today we have Kimberly Hansen.
Hello.
She is the Geospatial Marketing Director. So Kim, what have you seen or heard here at the conference that you think will have the most impact on the year ahead?
World LiDAR Day launching. So Woolpert was one of the core founders of World LiDAR Day. It seems to be having the most impact from what I've seen. It's getting a lot of traction, and everybody in the industry seems to really be enjoying that they have a day to celebrate LiDAR.
Wonderful. So what do you like most about attending conferences in general?
Networking. I think it's great to stay ahead of the curve. It's great to see some of your coworkers. It's engaging, and it just really brings out a certain kind of energy that you don't get on a day-to-day.